Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am so excited to be here with you all today. I would love you to introduce yourself into the chat box. Let me know where you're dialing in from and your preferred pronouns. My name is Anusha Wijeyakumar, and my preferred pronouns are she, her, hers. And I am dialing in today from San Clemente, California, on unceded Akashiman land here. Very sunny, beautiful day, and really excited just to be here with you all today to talk about my book, Meditation with Intention, with foreword by Dr. Sadiya Khan. So a little bit of an introduction on myself. I am an author. I was published by Llewellyn in January 2021. I'm also a speaker around the world on the science of meditation and mindfulness. I'm an adjunct professor at San Diego State University, where I speak on yoga philosophy and collective well-being in the intersection of yoga, wellness, and social justice. And I am also the wellness consultant for Hoag Hospital, one of the top 10 hospitals in Orange County, one of the top 100 in the United States, where I lead on integrative medicine for our Women's Health Institute, specifically focusing on breast and ovarian cancer care and prevention, our maternal mental health program. And I also work at our Neurosciences Institute. And I'm one of the first people to create a meditation program that we are clinically testing. And my work in science and STEM is very close to my heart on newly diagnosed breast cancer patients. So what I am going to share with you all today is an excerpt from my book. We'll have time to do a short practice because ultimately that's pretty much the premise of my book is all about, we all have 5 minutes. We often think that we don't have time to meditate, but if we kind of break that down into bite-sized chunks, which is debunking myth number 1, I don't have time. We've all got 5 minutes. And I talk about this a lot more in my book, giving you all simplistic ways and tools within which you can find 5 minutes. Anna will share details of my book at the end of this. I'll share some additional resources. So just logistics to begin with. I'm going to do a 20-minute talk with a practice, and then we will open up for the remaining 10 minutes for questions. I can't wait to hear from you all. It's my favorite part of doing online trainings and doing virtual events is hearing from you all. So any questions that you do have, you can pop into the chat box and we will be sure to address and answer them. So, meditation with intention. So what I'm going to do to begin with is actually do an excerpt from my book, which again, so we debunked myth number 1, which is I don't have time. It's probably the most common statement that I hear from patients and clients around the world. And what I say in my book and what I say at Hoag all the time to my patients is, you've got time. You might not have 60 minutes, but you've got 5 minutes. And nobody can tell me that you don't have 5 minutes because we all spend 5 minutes doing nonsense, whether it's scrolling through social media, whether it's looking at YouTube, whether it's looking at the never-ending animal memes. There are so many out there, even more so during the pandemic. We've got 5 minutes. And so I'll be leading you through a 5-minute practice that you can begin doing daily. So number 1, you've got the time. Number 2, when should I practice? Ideally, first thing in the morning. Again, happy to answer questions around this. I kind of lay out in chapter 1 a template for how you can adopt a daily 5-minute meditation practice that works. And number 3, guided meditations work. That's probably another one of the most commonly asked questions that I get. Should I meditate in silence? Should I meditate with a guided meditation? I mean, ultimately, it's up to you. I highly recommend guided meditations because they take the effort out of the practice, making it much more easy and accessible and attainable. And I will share at the end a free 5-minute mindfulness meditation that I have available via my website. So I'm going to do a reading from a meditation with intention, so you can just relax as I do this. And this is kind of addressing another one of the most common myths, which is, or questions rather, like what are the benefits? There's a multitude of benefits of adopting and dedicating yourself to a 5-minute meditation practice each day. But one of them that I have seen very much in my own life is if I meditate in the morning, I'm far less reactionary. And very often we're just reacting to everything and everyone around us. We're just like a puppet on strings. So I want to read from page 17. And this is intention 1, chapter 1. I change my mindset to change my life. Meditation will change your life, and only for the better. I guarantee it. It will enable you to become less reactionary to everyday situations and start creating a place of balance and equanimity from within. When your triggers are pushed, which inevitably they will be, through these practices, you can come back to your place of balance and peace within. We always want other people to change. I can't remember the amount of times, as it happens so often, when I have heard from my patients and clients how much they want their partner or their children or colleagues to change. I always tell them that change happens when we change. Once we change, our perception of things shifts and our reaction to things is different, and everything transforms around us. Meditation and mindfulness practices enable us to feel love, compassion, and non-judgment toward others and ourselves, which are key aspects of a self-love and self-care practice. This makes us less reactive to other people and our external circumstances, which is life-altering. Who doesn't want to feel more love authentically for themselves and others? My meditation and mindfulness practice has changed my life beyond measure. It has given me the gift of liberating myself from the prison of my own mind and allowed me to embrace the beauty of the present moment and live my life each day more fully with greater awareness and love. This has also empowered me to let go of trying to control everyone and everything around me and learn to sit back and enjoy the journey more, which has been a liberating experience. For somebody like myself who always previously had wanted to try to control everything, the more we are able to let go in our lives, the more peace we feel from within. Ironically, we are then much more able to attract the things we want effortlessly. Once I learned to let go and allow the divine to guide me, the more joy I feel in my daily life, and the more opportunities come to me without forcing them and trying to control everyone and everything in my life, which I might add becomes exhausting, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And then in that chapter, that intention 1 itself, I lay out a very simplistic way of how you can begin a daily meditation practice that works for you. And just I give you some tips, 2 tips that you can start practicing to ensure that you're actually able to adopt a practice that works for you. And of course, listen, I'm just giving you advice. Ultimately, what I always say to my patients and clients is, if nothing that I'm saying is helpful, that's absolutely fine. Find a practice that works for you, because it's only when you find a practice that works for you that you'll actually commit to doing it. So we're now going to get ready for a practice. But before we do, I want to debunk some more common myths. You don't have to be sitting in Padmasana, lotus pose on the floor. You don't have to have ascended to the top of a mountain. You don't need to be in some, exotic location. I think the more that we feed into this imagery of what we're sold, what we're told, what yoga looks like, what meditation looks like. And by the way, meditation is yoga. Yoga is meditation. It's not asana. It's not the physical postural practice. That is one aspect of Sage Patanjali's 8-limb path as outlined in the classical yogic text, the Yoga Sutras, but that is not the goal. Meditation is yoga, and that is ultimately the practice of meditation itself is going to be what is going to liberate us from our own suffering internally and externally. So you don't have to be sitting in any position on the floor. And quite frankly, in the West, we're not used to sitting on the floor. So what can happen is if we get ourselves into a position on the floor, we're uncomfortable, our ankles gone to sleep, our knees hurting, and that's all we're thinking about for the 5 minutes that we're supposed to be practicing. So what I recommend that you all do right now is come to a comfortable seat. If the floor is comfortable for you, wonderful. Otherwise, I encourage you to sit in a chair. And a chair can be probably one of the best places to meditate, especially if you have a chair with some back support. You can place a cushion behind you for some additional support in the lumbar area. And wherever you are, you're just coming to a comfortable seat. This practice can also be done lying down on the floor, on a mat. Just ensure that the cervical spine is in a neutral position. So don't have a pillow under your head for the type of practice that we'll be doing. Just pick somewhere where you can come to a comfortable position. The spinal column is neutral, and that's it. Okay, let's debunk another myth. You don't need to close your eyes. You don't need to be staring, at the tip of your nose. What I encourage you to do is, again, find a comfortable position that works for you. Soles of the feet, if you're sitting in a chair, can be grounding. You can have your palms gently pressing down on tops of the thighs. You can close your eyes if you wish. For me personally, I like to close my eyes because it really helps me to drown out any external distractions and really begin that journey within. Or you can remain with the eyes open. What I would encourage you to do is just to stare at a focal point on the ground, really helping to withdraw one of our main senses of sight. 90% of what activates the brain comes through our vision, our sight. So if we're able to focus on what we call in yoga philosophy, pratyahara, which is the Sanskrit word for that, which is that sensory withdrawal, and sight is one of our main senses that activates our brain, we can then begin to kind of start to quiet the mind down. Okay, so pick whatever works for you. And just take a moment to settle in. You're not trying to breathe in any way right now. You are simply breathing as it comes. There are no need for judgments or opinions here. If you have them, just allow them to drift away like clouds in the sky as you return to your body and your breath, your body and your breath, your body and your breath. And let's just take a moment now to gently relax the shoulders down away from the ears, relaxing and releasing the muscles in the face, any tension in the neck, the jaw area, releasing the point between the eyebrows, releasing the tongue from the hard palate of the roof of the mouth, and slowly and gently allowing the mind and body to come into that place of stillness and of quiet within, letting go of your daily worries, your cares, your concerns. You have none of those things in this moment. All that you have is your breath. And now I want you to take your attention to the chest and belly area and become aware of the movement there as you breathe. Just feel the movement. You're not trying to breathe in any particular way right now. You are simply breathing as it comes. If thoughts are coming into the mind, that is completely fine and normal. But just allow any thought forms that may be arising to gently drift away like clouds in the sky as you return to your body and your breath, your body and your breath, your body and your breath. And I want you all in this moment to relax, because there is no doing this practice wrong. If there are any external sounds, just let them be and start to notice the shape, the weight of your breath in your body, the gentle rising and the falling. And just notice how your breath feels. Is it long and smooth, or is it short and shallow? Just notice. You'll soon be inhaling for my count and exhaling for my count. So exhale all of the air out of the mouth. And then inhale through the nose with the mouth closed for the count of 1, 2, 3. Exhale through the nose with the mouth closed for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue that breath work pattern at your own pace, to your own count. You can inhale for 3 and exhale for 5. You can inhale for 2 and exhale for 4. Or you can inhale for 1 and exhale for 3. Pick whatever cadence works best for you in this moment. And as you inhale, I want you to silently repeat to yourself, I am at peace. And as you exhale, I want you to silently repeat to yourself, all is well in my world. I am at peace on the inhale. All is well in my world on the exhale. I am at peace on the inhale. All is well in my world on the exhale. And as you inhale, allow yourself to feel a sense of peace washing over you in this moment as you inhale. And as you exhale, allow yourself to feel that all is well in your world, regardless of your external situation or circumstance. You are at peace on the inhalation. All is well in your world on the exhalation. Once you've completed your rounds of that breath work pattern, however many feels comfortable to you, release. As we just take a moment of silence to absorb our practice. Slowly start to bring your consciousness and your awareness back to your physical surroundings, gently inviting some movement back into the body, perhaps wiggling the toes, the fingers, gently shaking the head from right to left, left to right, up and down. And then just taking a moment to feel the weight of your body, wherever it is, in a chair, on the floor, lying down, the weight of your head on your neck, as you slowly and gently blink the eyes open, if you had them closed, returning to your physical surroundings. So that's one of my favorite practices. I'm actually going to type in my website now, where you can all access a free 5-minute meditation, which is very similar to the one that we did. And now we will open up for questions, comments, sharing, anything that you wish to share. Thank you. Banshi has said, so refreshing. I love doing this. Yes, it is. And it, you know, the wonderful thing about especially a pranayama, which is what we did, prana in Sanskrit means your breath, your life force, a breathwork practice, is we're harnessing our breath as our life force within to energize us, to restore us, to enable us to tap into a sense of peace and balance and equanimity from within. And the work that I do in clinical research, we're testing a program that I created 3 years ago, which is very similar to what I taught you, a 5-minute practice for newly diagnosed breast cancer patients in the morning of a pranayama breath work, and then a 5-minute yoga nidra, which is yogic sleep meditation focused on deep rest and relaxation in the evening. And what we're finding is phenomenal results, that 80% of the patients who we inducted, consented, and completed the program have seen the benefits of meditation and mindfulness alongside managing their pain perioperatively. So yes, I'm seeing some comments here. Billy Joe says, the weight of a cat on my lap. Heidi says, very helpful to return my focus. Yes, exactly. So we have about 8 minutes left. I'd love to answer any questions that anybody has. I see one from Ralph. Do you have suggestions for people who get anxious when focusing on their breath due to breathing issues? Can the focus be put on another object? Absolutely. So there's a couple of things with breath work. If you suffer from just generalized anxiety, I would be very mindful when it comes to doing any breath work. Perhaps a better way, and we'll get to that in a minute, but I want to talk about this because very often people are generically offering up breath work. And I actually also teach at our acute addiction rehabilitation unit at Hoag Hospital, where people are focused on recovering from substance abuse and drug addiction. Teaching in those kind of settings, or working with patients or clients that suffer from a history of trauma or depression or anxiety, it can be anxiety inducing certain breath works, especially those which either hold an inhale or hold an exhalation. So I wouldn't advise doing that if you're suffering from anxiety for any reason. And sometimes doing any breath work, like Ralph was saying, can be anxiety inducing. So what I would instead suggest that you do is to begin like we did, just setting yourself up. It can also really help to make connection with the body. So perhaps immediately you're bringing the right hand to the abdomen, left hand on the heart space, and you're just breathing as you normally would. So, but instead of just unconsciously breathing, as all of our breathing is, we're consciously breathing. So when you're doing that, you're grounding yourself, you're making connection to the physical body, which also helps to bring us into the present moment, away from the past and away from projecting often negatively into the future. So it enables us to bring our body and mind together as one. We're grounding, which also helps with anxiety. And we're just going with the flow of whatever the natural rhythm of our breath is. And you're noticing it. You're noticing the belly contract and expand as you inhale and exhale. And that can be a really helpful way to connect to your breath for those of you that, you know, a typical pranayama practice or breathwork practice may not work. So hopefully that was helpful, Ralph. Janine has said, this is wonderful. Thank you. Brianna has said, I love how it's simplified. I feel tuned up. Thank you. And Brianna, that was always my goal. Honestly, the goal of writing this book was, the inspiration was my patients. I realized that in the short time that I have with them in our clinics, you know, I get 30 minutes with each patient. I don't have time. And so I realized that if I was able to spend that 30 minutes with them, teach them a short practice, but then give them the reference of my book, they're able to have 9 intentions, all focused on meditation and mindfulness, and all focused on things that you can do at home. And I wrote this, you know, this before the pandemic. So, so sorry, I've kind of missed a few now. Heidi has said, good suggestion. I have anxiety, so this is a good adjustment. Brianna has said, yes, that's true, that breathing can make it worse. One of the reasons why I've avoided meditation for so long. And listen, you don't have to do breath work in a meditation practice. You can do a different type of meditation, which is more of a guided visualization. When I'm teaching in addiction recovery, I always offer two practices. We don't have time for that today. So everybody can decide, maybe the breath work was not good. I often hear that in those settings. So then I offer another kind of guided visualization. And so it's really important that, again, like I said at the beginning, you find something that works for you, because that's when, you'll commit to doing it. Banshee, I have a rare chronic blood cancer. I have focused my breath work on the oxygen entering my body cells, restoring equilibrium. Do you have other suggestions for me? I mean, breath work specifically reoxygenates our blood. So I would just continue to do pranayama or breath work specifically. Also, there is a science of the breath. I talk about this extensively. This book was actually endorsed by my esteemed colleague, Dr. Robert Lewis, who is a neurosurgeon, a world-renowned neurosurgeon that I have the blessing to work with at Hoag Hospital. And I'm blessed to work with him. He's absolutely amazing. But there's a science, there's a neuroscience of the breath. When we take an inhale and we force an exhalation, we activate our parasympathetic nervous system response in the body, which is the aspect of our central nervous system that moves us away from that constant state of fight or flight to that rest and digest response, which also releases stress and releases elevated levels of cortisol in our bloodstream. Cortisol is pretty much linked to every disease, to cancer, to hypertension, heart disease, heart attack, stroke, lower immune function, weight gain, lower life expectancy, and autoimmune issues, and the list goes on. Heidi has said, grounding is very helpful. I try to practice that daily. Ralph, yes, I have found breath work to be problematic for clients who suffer from all the things you mentioned. Thank you, Anusha, for addressing this. Billy Joe, is it normal to have a hard time finding that inner quiet, a mind that seems to refuse to focus? Absolutely. I mean, honestly, and this is probably a good question to end on, I think let's debunk the final myth. People assume, I don't know why, and we'll get to that, oh, I've done a meditation and suddenly I'm going to have a blank canvas and I'm not going to have a negative thought and it's going to be, rainbows and unicorns. I mean, good on you if that's your experience. For most of us, it's not. We're still having thoughts coming in. We're still working on liberating ourselves from the prison of our own minds. We're still feeling anxious. What I will say is, with a prolonged, and when I say prolonged, I'm talking about the science that I do is 12 weeks. That's not long, right? And by the way, these people have cancer and they're going through surgery and treatment. The average person isn't having to undergo all of those things. So I would say begin a meditation practice, give yourself the 7-day challenge, meditate at least once a day for 5 minutes, twice if you can. You will see a difference. You will feel a difference. And again, it's not magic and rainbows and I don't have another problem. What it is what I kind of read from the excerpt of the book, that you just become less reactionary. You're better able to control your emotions, control your reactions to things. And that's pivotal for our inner peace and sense of happiness and joy from within. Because if we can begin to tune in through the practice, we can begin to control and shift those habitual internal negative thoughts that we all have as a result of evolution. So through time, with a prolonged practice, and honestly, I've had a long-term practice, every day is different. But that's why it's called a practice. Some days it's very easy for me to drop into that place and feel a sense of peace immediately. And other days, if I haven't slept so well, I have a lot to do on my to-do list, a lot going on at work or in my home life, it can be less easy. But I consistently practice each day because I always feel better afterwards. So thank you so much. We're at time, but I do want to get through these comments. Let me put my glasses on as well. Raina has said it's very helpful to not have to change the breathing, just to be aware of it. Carissa, I also have a hard time quietening my mind. Honestly, we all do. And I talk about this extensively in Meditation with Intention and offer 9 intentions that can help you all with that. Nancy, thank you, Anusha, for the meditation. Thank you. Keith, how do you feel about music? Personally, I prefer a guide, just a meditation. Maybe that has a little bit of introduction music or a bit of background music. My guided meditations, there is no music. It's just my voice. Some people prefer listening to the sound of rain or some music in the background. I don't, again, say either way is one is better than the other. I say if music in the background helps you to calm the mind and to drop into that place of stillness and quiet, by all means do it. Banshee, great presentation, Anusha. I love your book. Thank you so much. Ralph, thank you, Anusha. Have a lovely day. And Heidi, thank you so much. So thank you. And Steve, I do finally, my father was diagnosed 2 months ago with early onset dementia. For the most part, he is still there and in the moment. Could meditation help with dementia? Absolutely. Until we take our last breath, there is always the ability to change our mindset and change my life. And research through MRI scanning of people that with a long-term meditation practice has illustrated that long-term meditation practice increases gray matter in our brains. Gray matter is linked to our speech, our problem solving, our decision making, our hearing, our sight, basically the ability for us to live our lives. So, you know, absolutely, it can help us with dementia. There's studies around Alzheimer's and gray matter as well. And you know, I'll finally just end by saying this. It's never too late. It's never too late to begin a practice. I often hear from patients, oh, I'm too old and I'm set in my ways. It's never too late. Until we take our last breath, there is always hope and an ability to change our mindset and change our lives. And with that, I will end. Thank you all so much. And I will just include, I've given you all my website. You can stay in touch with me. I'm most active on Instagram, where I also offer a lot of resources. And I will put that in the chat box, except that's actually wrong. So sorry, let's not use that. It's Shanti Within. There we go. Or you can just search for me under my name. Would love to stay in touch with you all. Thank you so much. And beginner meditation practice. You can, Anna, I think now is going to share the details. Anna, that's a good prompt as we close out now. Anna is going to share the details of meditation with intention. And there's a discount code for those of you that are joining today. So you can actually get 30% off my book by clicking on the link that Anna has shared through Llewellyn Books. And thank you. Take care. And I hope to see you all again next year at LlewellynCon.